Way up on that mountaintop is Mount Umunhum. I'm gonna butcher that name a lot, so get used to it. Look at this, I'm touching the Cold War. Huh? My grubby paws all over the Cold War. Cold War history, right up here on this mountaintop south of San Jose. Welcome to the Something or Other tour. Welcome to the Something or Other tour. We're on top of Mount Umunhum. This is like the south side of San Jose. It's in the Santa Cruz Mountain range. It hasn't been a public trail for very long because it has sort of a historical attraction. There's an old Cold War era radar station at the top of this mountain. It's been decommissioned for years, so they finally opened this whole area up as a public trail, and you get to go up and see the radar station. I mean, kind of right up my alley, you know? As you can see, amazing views. We're in the South Bay, so that's looking north up to San Francisco and Oakland. So let's get up the trail and talk about some of the history of this place. I got Steve-O with me. We're huffing and puffing up the trail to the top. This is pretty amazing. There's multiple parking lots and you can drive right up to the station, although the main parking lot's a little further down, so we gotta walk up this trail to get to the main attraction. Most of this region was inhabited by the Ohlone Native Americans. So Umunhum, it means the resting place of the hummingbird. Right at the top of the mountain is the Cube. This is a 5-story structure that used to house an 85-ton radar. The structure was built in 1962 at the height of the Cold War. We got the Bay Area to our right, and to our left is the Pacific Ocean. So this was situated right here on one of the tallest peaks, so the radar could possibly catch incoming hostile aircraft. Back then, we had all eyes on the Pacific Ocean and the threat that could be coming, but never did. When this building was active, it wouldn't have just been the Cube. There was actually a giant radar dish attached to the top. And that radar dish would spin around and protect us from invasion. The radar inside was so big and so powerful that as it spun, it would cause electrical interference up to 250 miles away. So people's radios, TVs, and things like that might act up. As you can imagine, the area was filled with hazardous materials and things like that. So this area was closed for a very long time, but then there was a conservation effort to try to open it up to the public. They thought about maybe demolishing the structure, but it gained historical standing and was saved. And there was a renovation on the structure that was completed in March of 2022. It was a years-long effort to clean up all the materials and all the dangerous stuff that was on this mountaintop. And now it's a really cool trail. I don't go to too many trails in the Bay Area, but this is definitely one of my favorites. Ah, the Cold War. I saw a documentary about that. Red Dawn, it's called. You know that wasn't a documentary, you joking? No, it was a documentary. Okay, you're being on PBS, I think. You're being sincere. Hey folks, it's just me walking down a trail to Mount Umunhum radar station. No big deal. You guys like the new mic setup or what? Huh? I can just be running my yap way over here, away from the camera. Downtown San Jose over there. Almaden is here, the Quicksilver mining district. Hopefully video coming soon. Quicksilver, crazy history. I'm wondering if these were old doorways. You can't really go in now. They're all cemented off. Maybe those were windows, I don't know. Mostly windowless, but I mean, this was our protector here on the West Coast. Actually not mine, so this was active until 1980. So it actually shut down before I was born. It protected my mom and my grandma though. The Mount Umunhum radar station protected the whole Bay Area here, protected the whole West Coast. I can't get this door open. Wondering if at some point they'll do like inside tours. That would be really cool, especially since they did say they renovated the interior, so maybe one day we'll get in there, you know? Mount Umunhum. Mount Umunhum. You get to see so far from up here. All the way down past Gilroy. We filmed some stuff over here. It's a pretty cool trail. You can come up here with your bike, with your dogs, your kids, let them loose. It's a long way down.
Man, that's a really cool miniature down there. So cool. it's crazy how much time people put into building things. It looks like it's like, you know, real buildings and stuff. No?
Hate to break it to you, but that's a real city.
What do you mean?
It's a real city.
No, it's like...
It's a real city. But it's real though, that's the thing. We can go down there, we can actually run around. We can buy hot dogs down there.
Well, yeah, but they're gonna be...
We can get Gatorade at 7-Eleven right over there.
Yeah, but it's like the tiniest 7-Eleven.
We can find a swimming pool and we can go swimming.
Like,
right down there.
You'd have to be careful not to step on things.
There's an airport. We can take a flight somewhere. Where do you want to go? We can do it right down there. It's not a miniature. It's real.
But how do you ride the like, I saw one go in, one of those little, like, they're on the wires.
I guess you shrink yourself like Ant-Man. Go watch our Ant-Man video.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I love views. One of my favorite things is a good view. Give me a good view and a bowl of ice cream. I could die right then and there. There's so much history in these mountain ranges. A lot of mining history, which obviously I'm into. I'm definitely into Cold War history as well. So this is pretty cool. Look at that bird. Enjoying the little updraft, huh? Nice little updraft. Yeah. We're way up here. It cleared up a little, so you can almost see San Francisco and Oakland. Oh, I can see San Francisco. Coming out of the mist, you can see just a glimmer, just a glint on the top of the Salesforce Tower. This was one of the most significant surveillance posts on the West Coast. During the Cold War, there was obvious threats against the West Coast, and they built this in 1962 to help with the surveillance. Being on the West Coast and the Bay Area, which had a very, very large military population, there was a lot of possible targets, and we're right on the edge here. The whole Pacific coast is littered with defense sites, missile sites, all kinds of Cold War remnants. If you're younger, you might not realize that during the Cold War, everybody just kind of lived under this constant idea of any day now, something could go down. To the point where there was a huge arms race. They're building stuff like this. The technology was advancing at a crazy pace. We had the space race, we had the arms race, and we were even battling it out in the Olympics. The United States versus the Soviet Union was a battle for the ages. Luckily, it never really came to blows. Besides Rocky and Ivan Drago, of course. Nowadays, of course, you got the trails and it's an open preserve, but I believe right across the way, that ball is actually a weather radar that's still active to this day. So if you're in the Bay Area and you're checking the weather forecast, you might be getting your data from right over there. Oh, dude, you're right. You're right. It wasn't Red Dawn. It was called Rambo 3. Just stop talking to me. Fine. Fine. They do have some good tips here. If you encounter a mountain lion, this is a mountain lion area. Basically pump the crowd up. Be large, shout. Same thing we do when the 49ers are on defense. So if you've been to a game at Candlestick or Levi's, you know what to do. Face lion, back away slowly. Be large, pump the crowd up. Get the crowd into it. You know? One thing I really find cool about the preservation and conservation effort that went into this mountain is that some of the local tribes were able to get access here, and so they occasionally do ceremonies and things like that up here on this mountaintop like they used to do centuries ago. There's some cool info boards like this one. So this one talks about some of those tribes. The Amah Mutsun and the Muwekma, they say that this is where visions are sought and communion with the spiritual world is made. So this is a very sacred site. And it has the name Mount Umunhum because the hummingbird serves to remind those who see the mountain of the old teachings. So they hold ceremonies here because it's close to the Creator up in the sky. Pretty cool stuff. Here it says the Ohlone invite all people to this destination for healing and prayer, to pray for past generations and future descendants, for healing and for renewal of the environment. Pretty interesting that this sacred site was used for warfare defense.
You know, it's kind of crazy too, like this was all land where they'd come have ceremonies and stuff, means they had to hike up here and spend the night. And all they saw was land, you know, just the bay where they paddle out and go fishing and stuff, just the big valley.
And back then, the Ohlone would come out here, they would see nothing, almost no civilization. Whatever civilization there was, you probably couldn't really see from here. And that was just a couple hundred years ago. There's a helicopter and it's actually below us because we're so high up. And I see so many things I've gone to and filmed. Where's Levi's Stadium? Somewhere out there. Unfortunately, the thing with Native Americans in the United States is so much was just destroyed, desecrated, totally gone. But for the few things that do still exist, I would love to do more videos on that. I do have a lot of stuff planned about the Ohlone, about the Miwok, and I love to do videos about tribes all over the country. That's definitely history that needs to be preserved more, talked about more, and appreciated more. A lot of cool rocks out here if you're into geology. I'm not an expert, but I can definitely appreciate a good rock. One day this will all be mine. I'm gonna rule this place. You couldn't rule a sandbox. Have a little more faith. I don't and I won't. This is an elevation of 3,489 feet. It's the 4th highest peak in the Santa Cruz mountain range. And what's pretty cool is this is actually 2 tectonic plates coming together, smashing into each other, creating this mountain range. Mount Umunhum is right next to Loma Prieta, another mountain peak. You may know that name because that's what the 1989 earthquake that devastated the Bay Area was named after, because the epicenter was not too far from Loma Prieta Peak. Like I said, this mountain range is right on a fault, the San Andreas Fault. I mean, this is amazing views, really cool hike, really easy. There's restrooms available. Highly recommend coming up here. You get the view and you get to touch some Cold War history. Who invited this guy? Now it's a party. Oh, goodness. Good grief.
Sorry, man.
Man, this goes down so far. There's actually like some equipment down there. I know there was a big cleanup, but they missed some stuff. The cube is 8.5 stories tall. There's 5 stories inside. And it was built as part of the Almaden Air Force Station, which operated from 1958 to 1980. Part of the 682nd Radar Squadron. Technology employed in here was called the SAGE Defense, Semi-Automatic Ground Environment. And don't ask me what that means. Back when this was operating, it wasn't just the radar tower here. There was a whole bunch of buildings. It was a whole facility. And there was over 100 Air Force personnel and their families that actually lived and worked on the mountain. Almost all the facilities that were here before, besides this building, have been torn down. They tried to restore most of the mountain to what it was like before all the buildings were there. And this station was part of a whole network up and down the West Coast, all connected, all monitoring the airspace, up to 250 miles out to sea from right here. All the data from this station would be processed with the help of NORAD, and they would assess potential threats. The whole network of these early detection radar systems could alert the air bases that were full of interceptor fighter jets for any potential nuclear threat. During the Cold War, the threat was real. I mean, there was billions and billions and trillions of dollars poured into the Cold War. These types of radar stations dotted both coasts. They had them throughout all the Pacific Island chains, all over the world. There was this cat and mouse game of intelligence. I mean, right there, the Watcher, huh? Protecting us from a Soviet invasion. I think Cold War history is so interesting. And just think, if there was an invasion of some sort or an attack, this definitely would have been a target. They would have tried to bomb the bejesus out of this thing. Everywhere you go, there's like hidden history, you know? You might not even realize it. But this station was involved in this conflict between 2 superpowers, 2 nuclear superpowers. Because of all the technological advancements, the way they set it up, you know, good versus evil, however accurate that was, either way, right? Cold War history really encompassed the best and the worst of humans. You got nuclear threat, but then you have the astronauts. Pretty impressive, huh? Sure is. Sure is. I wish I could have seen it back when the big radar dish was on top. So here on the Pacific coast in California, we had this watching our backs from the Ruskies. Alaska had Sarah Palin out on her front porch, but we had this. This is cool.
Yeah, man, this is awesome.
I love the other guys. I love them so much.
Do they take care of us and stuff?
Yeah, I will never bring harm to them.
Yeah, like protection.
Yeah, they're so sweet. You know, one of these days we have to kill them, right?
Does yours tuck you in too?
Yeah, every night. Gives me a kiss on the forehead. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to make it as painful as possible. This is one of those little hidden Easter eggs. If you're in the South Bay, almost from anywhere, you can see the silhouette of the cube on the horizon. I've pointed out from so far before, I'm like, oh, you can see Mount Umunhum. Ah, such a cool view. You can see Mount Hamilton from here, Mount Diablo. You can see down to the Malaguerra Winery, the abandoned Gold Rush era winery that we did a video on like 3 years ago. area. I love it here. I wonder how many times they were in there watching the monitors, checking the data, and an imminent threat showed up on the radars, you know? How many false alarms were there? How many real alarms were there and we just never found out? You know, was Sean Connery involved in this? Huh? Hunt for Red October? Ah, I wish I could get up there so bad. If anyone knows, if anyone has the hookup, let me know. I'd pay money. And I don't know if there was offices in here or anything like that, but I like to think there's fellas in there watching the monitors. But it's very possible that all the data from here came down the hill to where all the other buildings were. But I still want to think that there's a guy in there, you know, looking at the monitor, a little doot-doot, doot-doot. Definitely tickles me pink when they take things like this and they turn it into, you know, a historical place that you can go enjoy, as opposed to just tearing it down or fencing it off, whatever it may be. I'm always a huge fan of stuff like this. You can appreciate the history all the way from the Ohlone up to the Cold War, up into the modern day. Preservation efforts, conservation efforts. I think it's important. I think a lot of people are invested in it right now, where in the future, they will look back at this time as an era where a lot of people hopefully turn the tide back to a more sustainable way of living and environment. Well, there was our spiritual moment. The hummingbird came right up to us, buzzed the tower, gave us a little how do you do? Little tip of the cap there. That was cool. I will remember that. I mean, are we talking Cold War here? What are we talking? Prior to the fall of the Soviet Union, there was such an imminent threat. We had so many things protecting us. We had radar stations like this. We had the Transformers. We had G.I. Joes. We had Rocky Balboa. We had Arnold Schwarzenegger. We had John Rambo. I think even Indiana Jones fought some Ruskies at some point. I apologize if Ruskies is a slur. I probably should have thought about that before I said anything. So whenever you're in the South Bay, take a look up at the mountain range and you'll see the cube. Give a little hey to our one-time watcher and protector. Because then, now, and into the future, we still have to deal with the wars of the rich. This was protecting the innocent people. So while I wish I could live in a world without war, I have to give thanks to the defense technology that kept my family safe and continues to keep me safe. Maybe one day we'll get to a world where we don't even need things like this. It's so beautiful up here. So beautiful. I could definitely see this being a very spiritual site. I mean, it's breathtaking. If you like exploring random stuff like this, a lot of history, some sports games, abandoned places, please give us a subscribe. Throw a subscribe right in my face, all right? You can check our playlist if it makes it easier to find the kind of content you like, because I know I do a wide range of things and not everybody likes everything, but it's what makes me happy. That's it for Mount Umunhum. Please correct me if I'm just butchering that. I probably am. That's fine. If you'd like to help support the channel, we have a Patreon with a lot of bonus content, bonus footage. Thanks to the Patreon subscribers that we already have. You guys are the best. Like, subscribe, share, do all the cool things the cool kids do. Something or other tour for life. Mountaintop hill clicker right here, Mount Umunhum. Not bad on a rock, not bad. Well, I had it zoomed in, what a dummy. So stupid. You think I can touch that? Just took me a couple warm-ups, that's all. I'm gonna feel that for about 2 weeks. I knew I was still so young and so spry. So yeah, that's about it.